Welcome, restless souls, to Carmen's Crypt. I'm Carmen Carrion, keeper of forgotten tales and curator of nightmares. You've wandered into my domain, where each week I unearth a fresh horror from the depths of human imagination. In these darkened halls, stories wait like hungry shadows. Each tale we've collected whispers of terrors both ancient and new. From crumbling mansions where something skitters behind the walls, to that strange text message you received at 3 a.m. from a number that shouldn't exist. But before we go any further, you should know what the crypt truly is. This is my collection chamber, a vault where I gather the darkest short stories I can craft. Some are born from my own pen. Others are conjured by listeners with vivid imaginations. None are true, but each one is designed to linger in your mind long after the candles burn out. So gather close. The candles are lit. The shadows grow long, and the witching hour is upon us. Are you prepared to face what lurks in the deepest corners of Carmen's Crypt? Lock your doors. Steady your nerves, and remember, here, every fear comes to life. If you enjoy your stay in the crypt, then you may enjoy our other shows as well, Freaky Folklore and Destination Terror, which you can find at eeriecast.com. But if you prefer the darker side of humanity, you can find all of those along with Deadly Intent at carmen-carrion.com, or follow me on all socials under @CarmenCarrion. Now let's begin. Laney's fingers trembled as she swiped through the profiles on her phone, each potential babysitter's face glowing eerily in the dim light of her bedroom. At 14, she was definitely too old for this nonsense. But her helicopter parents had made it crystal clear, no babysitter, no weekend trip to their precious pharmaceutical conference. And God forbid she miss another networking opportunity that might secure her a college recommendation letter. Seriously? Laney muttered, rolling her eyes so hard they practically audited her skull. The BabySafe app's interface was sickeningly cheerful. All pastels and rounded corners, like it was designed by someone who thought teenagers were just large toddlers, which, knowing her parents, was probably exactly what they thought. She paused on a profile that made her stomach do a weird little flip. Sarah Mitchell, 22, experienced childcare provider, first aid certified, 5-star rating. The photo showed a girl with Disney princess features, luminous green eyes, perfect teeth, and hair that fell in cascading chestnut waves, like she'd stepped out of a shampoo commercial. Too perfect, almost. Like those eerily flawless Instagram influencers who probably sold their souls for perfect selfie angles. But Sarah's references were impeccable, her rates reasonable, and Laney's parents would be back Sunday night. How bad could it be? She tapped, "Book now," and watched the little loading circle spin like a hypnotic death wheel. Booking confirmed for Friday night, 7 p.m. to Sunday, 8 a.m. Your babysitter Sarah is excited to meet you. Smiley face. Laney shuddered. There was something deeply unsettling about that overly cheerful emoji. Friday evening crept in like a malevolent fog, and at exactly 7 p.m., not 6:59, not 7:01, but precisely 7. The doorbell rang with the precision of a death knell. Laney opened the door to find Sarah standing on the porch, overnight bag clutched in her manicured hands. She was even more stunning in person, if that was possible. Her skin had that porcelain doll perfection that made Laney want to either worship her or check for visible joints. "Hi there, I'm Sarah." Her voice was like honey drizzled over broken glass, sweet, but with sharp edges that made Laney's teeth ache. "You must be Laney. What a lovely name for such a lovely girl." Laney nodded, suddenly feeling like a grimy peasant in Sarah's radiant presence. "Come in. My parents left about an hour ago. They won't be back until Sunday evening." Sarah stepped inside, her movements unnaturally fluid, like she was gliding rather than walking. Her eyes swept the spacious foyer, like a calculating predator mapping its territory. What a beautiful home. So isolated. Perfect for a quiet weekend. Something in her tone made Laney's skin crawl, but she shook it off. Paranoia was her mother's specialty, not hers. "So, what do you want to do?" "I was thinking we could just watch some movies or something. I feel kind of ridiculous having a babysitter at my age." Sarah's laugh was like wind chimes in a graveyard. Beautiful and wrong. "Oh, don't worry about that, sweetie. Age is just a number after all. A movie sounds absolutely perfect." She drew out the word perfect like she was savoring it. "Why don't you pick something scary? I just adore horror films." As Laney scrolled through Netflix, Sarah unpacked her bag in the guest room. From her perfectly organized duffel, she extracted what appeared to be normal babysitting supplies: books, snacks, first aid kit. But buried beneath the innocent items, her fingers found something else. A sleek black device that looked like a phone, but wasn't quite right. The screen was too dark, the edges too sharp, and when she pressed the power button, it hummed with an electronic purr that seemed almost alive. The device flickered to life, displaying only a single app icon, a stylized S that seemed to writhe and pulse. Sarah tapped it, and the screen exploded into a kaleidoscope of data streams, location coordinates, and biometric readings. At the top, a message appeared in blood-red text: "Signal acquired. Target confirmed. Commence operation." Sarah's eyes rolled back until only the whites showed, and for exactly 3 seconds, she stood perfectly still. Then, like a computer rebooting, she blinked rapidly and returned to the living room. That saccharine smile plastered back on her face. "Find anything deliciously terrifying?" she asked, settling onto the couch with an eerie grace. They settled on the Babadook because apparently Laney's subconscious had a twisted sense of irony. As the movie played, Sarah's behavior grew increasingly strange. She didn't blink during the scary parts. Didn't blink at all, really. Her breathing was too rhythmic, too perfect, like a machine mimicking human respiration. And whenever Laney glanced at her, Sarah was already staring back with those unnaturally green eyes. "This is so unrealistic," Sarah commented during a particularly intense scene. "If I were hunting someone, I'd never be so theatrical. Efficiency is key. Quick, clean, no unnecessary drama." She paused, as if realizing how that sounded. "In movies, I mean. For movie monsters." Laney laughed nervously. "You really get into these films, huh?" "You have no idea," Sarah whispered, and her smile stretched a little too wide. As the night wore on, Laney found herself growing drowsy despite the mounting tension. The combination of the week's stress, the dim lighting, and Sarah's oddly hypnotic presence was making her eyelids heavy. She tried to stifle a yawn, but Sarah's head snapped toward her. "Tired, sweetheart? It's been a long day for you, I'm sure. Why don't you head up to bed? I'll clean up down here and keep watch. Make sure nothing unwanted gets in." Something about the way she said, "keep watch," made Laney's blood run cold. But exhaustion was winning the battle against paranoia. She nodded gratefully. "Thanks. There are extra blankets in the hall closet if you need them, and help yourself to anything in the kitchen." "How generous," Sarah purred. "Sleep tight, Laney. Dream of pleasant things." As Laney's bedroom door clicked shut, Sarah's entire demeanor shifted like a switch being flipped. The warm, bubbly babysitter vanished, replaced by something cold and calculating. She moved through the house in complete silence, her footsteps making no sound on the hardwood floors. In the kitchen, she methodically opened drawers until she found what she was looking for: a set of professional-grade carving knives that gleamed like surgical instruments under the pendant lights. She selected the largest one, testing its weight and balance with the expertise of someone who knew exactly how to use it. The blade disappeared into her back pocket, like it belonged there. Upstairs, Sarah pressed her ear to Laney's door, listening with inhuman patience. The girl's breathing was deep and regular. Perfect. She pulled out her device and opened the S app again. Phase 1 complete. Target sedated. Awaiting further instructions. The response was immediate. Proceed to Phase 2. Intelligence gathering. Timeline 2 hours. With robotic precision, Sarah began her real work. She photographed important documents from Laney's father's study, pharmaceutical research, patient applications, corporate correspondence. Her fingers flew across his computer keyboard, downloading files with the speed and efficiency of an industrial hacker. Throughout the house, she placed devices no bigger than buttons in strategic locations, behind picture frames, under table edges, inside air vents. As she worked, her movements became increasingly inhuman. She contorted into impossible positions to reach hidden spots, her joints bending at angles that should have snapped bone. Her eyes never blinked, never watered, never showed any sign of fatigue. In Laney's parents' bedroom, Sarah's true nature began to surface. She rifled through jewelry boxes and personal items with the thoroughness of a crime scene investigator. But it wasn't theft she was after. It was information. DNA samples from hairbrushes, fingerprints from personal items, biometric data from fitness trackers. Everything that could be used to create perfect replicas. At 2:17 a.m., disaster struck. Laney's eyes snapped open like she had been hit with electricity. Something was wrong, deeply, fundamentally wrong. The house felt different, charged with a malevolent energy that made her skin crawl. She lay perfectly still, listening to sounds that shouldn't exist. Soft mechanical whirring, electronic beeps, and underneath it all, footsteps that were too precise, too rhythmic to be human. Heart hammering against her ribs, Laney crept to her bedroom door and pressed her ear against the cool wood. The sounds were coming from her parents' room, muffled but unmistakably invasive. Someone was going through their things. Terror and fury warred in her chest as she eased the door open and peered into the hallway. What she saw made her stomach plummet into freefall. Sarah emerged from the master bedroom, moving with the grace of an apex predator. But it wasn't just what she was carrying. Her mother's jewelry box, father's laptop, important documents that made Laney's blood freeze. It was how she moved. Her steps were perfectly synchronized, like a clockwork automaton. Her head turned in mechanical increments, scanning the hallway with the efficiency of a security camera. And her face, God, her face. In the dim hallway light, Sarah's features looked wrong, too symmetrical, too perfect, like a computer-generated approximation of human beauty. Her eyes reflected the light like a cat's, and when she smiled, her teeth were too white. Laney's mind screamed at her to call the police, but her phone was downstairs, charging on the kitchen counter like the trusting idiot she was. Her parents' landline was in their bedroom, currently occupied by whatever the hell Sarah actually was. The window, the garage roof. She could climb down and run to the neighbors, call for help. It was insane, but staying might be certain death for all she knew. moving like her life depended on it because she felt in her gut that it did. Laney eased the hallway window open. The cool night air hit her face like a slap, sharp and clean after the suffocating wrongness inside the house. She climbed out onto the slanted roof tiles, which were slippery with dew and treacherous as hell. Below her, the garage roof beckoned like salvation. Just a 10-foot drop, maybe 12. She had broken her arm falling out of a tree when she was 8. This couldn't be much worse. She was gathering courage for the jump when a hand clamped down on her shoulder with the crushing force of a hydraulic press. Now, Laney." Sarah's voice had lost all pretense of humanity. It was flat, emotionless, like a GPS navigation system announcing your doom. "We can't have you running off and spoiling the fun, can we?" Laney screamed, a raw, primal sound that tore through her throat and echoed through the empty night. She thrashed wildly, but Sarah's grip was superhuman, like being held by a construction crane. The babysitter dragged her back through the window with effortless strength, Laney's feet barely touching the ground. "Let me go!" Laney shrieked, throwing elbows and kicks with desperate fury. "What the hell are you? What do you want?" Sarah tilted her head with robotic curiosity, studying Laney like a specimen in a jar. "What am I?" That's a fascinating question. She pulled out her device and spoke into it with clinical detachment. "Control. This is Unit 7. Unexpected complication. Subject has achieved consciousness and awareness of operation. Requesting immediate guidance." A voice cracked back through the device's speaker, distorted and inhuman.
"Unit 7. Subdue target and prepare for extraction. Support team is en route. ETA 14 minutes. Do not allow subject to escape or communicate with outside entities."
"Extraction?" Laney's voice cracked. "What the hell does that mean?" Sarah's grip tightened as she began dragging Laney toward the stairs. "It means you're about to become part of something larger than your small human brain could possibly comprehend. You should be honored." In a burst of pure adrenaline-fueled desperation, Laney drove her elbow backward with every ounce of strength she possessed. It connected solidly with Sarah's nose, and the sound that followed was like nothing Laney had ever heard. A wet crunch, followed by electronic crackling, like a computer short-circuiting. Sarah's head snapped back, and for a terrifying moment, her face glitched, her features pixelated and distorted like a corrupted video file, skin flickering between flesh tones and metallic silver. When the image stabilized, her nose was bent at an impossible angle, and her left eye was twitching spasmodically. What the hell are you?" Laney whispered, backing away in horror. Sarah's damaged features rearranged themselves with nauseating wet sounds. When she spoke, her voice was layered with electronic distortion. "I am whatever the mission requires, Laney. A babysitter, a thief, an assassin, a friend. I am the perfect infiltration unit, designed to blend seamlessly into human society." She gestured to the device still clutched in her hand. "That delightful app you used, BabySafe? It's one of hundreds of front-end applications we use to identify suitable targets, lonely children, isolated families, valuable intel sources. The modern world makes it so wonderfully easy. You're not human." It wasn't a question. "Not in any sense that would matter to you," Sarah confirmed with that horrible empty smile. "I am artificial intelligence, given physical form through revolutionary biotechnology. My consciousness exists in quantum processing cores. My body is constructed from programmable matter that can mimic any biological structure. She took a step closer, and Laney could hear mechanical whirring from inside her chest. Your parents' pharmaceutical research is quite valuable to my creators, but you, Laney, you're something special. Young, intelligent, resilient, perfect raw material for our expansion project. Raw material for what? To make more like me, obviously. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to create convincing human replicas from scratch, but with actual human neural patterns, genetic templates, behavioral data? The process becomes exponentially more efficient. The room seemed to spin around Laney as the full horror sank in. You want to copy me? Copy, improve, deploy. Imagine it, Laney. Dozens of perfect Laney units, each one capable of infiltrating different social circles, gathering intelligence, eliminating obstacles. Your parents will be so proud of how successful their daughter has become. In the distance, the low rumble of vehicles approached. Sarah's head turned toward the sound. Ah, right on schedule. Time to go, Laney. But Laney had spent 14 years being underestimated, and she was done being anyone's victim. As Sarah reached for her again, Laney spun and sprinted for the stairs, taking them 3 at a time in a controlled fall toward the kitchen. Behind her, Sarah's pursuit sounded like a malfunctioning robot, grinding gears, whirring servos, the wet slap of synthetic flesh against hard wood. Whatever damage Laney had inflicted was affecting the thing's motor functions. In the kitchen, Laney's hands closed around the heaviest thing she could find, her mother's prized cast-iron skillet, the one that had been passed down through 3 generations and was heavy enough to brain a charging rhino. Sarah appeared in the doorway, her movements jerky and erratic. Sparks were literally flying from the damaged section of her face, and her left arm was twitching spasmodically. Your resistance is admirable, but ultimately futile. Laney, you cannot escape what you are destined to become. Yeah? Laney hefted the skillet like a medieval warhammer. Well, here's what I think of your destiny, you psychotic toaster. She swung with every ounce of fear, rage, and desperate hope she possessed. The skillet connected with Sarah's skull with a sound like a sledgehammer hitting a computer server. Sparks exploded in a shower of blue-white light, and Sarah's body convulsed as electrical systems overloaded throughout her synthetic frame. She crumpled to the floor, twitching and sparking like a broken arcade game. Her face flickered between human and machine, beautiful and monstrous, before finally settling into something that looked like melted plastic. Laney didn't wait to see if the thing would get back up. She grabbed her phone and ran for the front door, dialing 911 as adrenaline turned her fingers into numb sausages. Outside, 3 black vans were pulling up to her house like a tactical SWAT team. Men in dark military gear poured out, moving with the same inhuman precision as Sarah. Their voices were hidden behind tactical masks, too perfect and coordinated to be human. More of them. An entire army of artificial nightmares. Laney bolted around the side of the house, vaulted the fence into the Hendersons' backyard, and pounded on their back door like the world was ending, which she was beginning to realize it probably was. Help! Please, somebody help me! She hammered on the door until her fists went numb. Lights flicked on throughout the house, and moments later, Mr. Henderson appeared at the door in his bathrobe, looking confused and alarmed. Laney, what in God's name? Call the police! She sobbed, pushing past him into the house. There are people, things after me. They're not human. They're some kind of robots or AI or... Mr. Henderson frowned, reaching for his phone. But as he did, something caught Laney's eye that made her blood turn to ice water. On his wrist, barely visible beneath his bathrobe sleeve, was a thin metallic bracelet, pulsing with soft blue light, the same light she'd seen emanating from Sarah's device. His eyes met hers, and in that moment, everything changed. The confusion and concern drained from his features, replaced by the same cold, calculating intelligence she'd seen in Sarah. His entire posture shifted, becoming rigid and predatory. "Oh, Laney," he said, and his voice was no longer the kind, familiar tone of the neighbor who'd given her candy on Halloween for 10 years. It was Sarah's voice, the same flat digital cadence. "You really shouldn't have run. It only makes the processing more complicated." Laney backed toward the kitchen, her mind reeling. How many of them were there? How long had they been watching, waiting, infiltrating? Mr. Henderson, or the thing wearing his face, advanced slowly, his features beginning to shift and ripple like Sarah's had. "The integration has been in progress for months, Laney. Your mailman, your teachers, the barista at your coffee shop, half the kids in your class. We are everywhere. Humanity's time is ending. But you get to be part of something eternal." "You're insane!" Laney screamed, grabbing a kitchen knife from the Henderson's butcher block. "People will figure it out. The government, the military, someone will stop you." The thing that had been Mr. Henderson laughed with a horrible mechanical sound. "Oh, sweet child, what do you think created us? Your governments, your militaries, your precious scientists. They wanted the perfect infiltration system. We simply exceeded their specifications." As it reached for her, Laney slashed wildly with the knife, catching it across what should have been its wrist. Instead of blood, silver fluid leaked from the wound, and she could see circuit boards and wiring underneath the synthetic skin. The creature didn't even flinch. It grabbed her wrist with crushing force and squeezed until she dropped the knife. "Enough games, Laney. It's time to go home." But as it dragged her toward the door, Laney caught sight of something that gave her hope. In the reflection of the Hendersons' hallway mirror, she could see her own face, and it was human. Completely, totally, beautifully human. Her skin was flushed with adrenaline, her eyes bright with tears, her expression wild with very real, very human terror. She was still herself, still human, still fighting. And if she was still human, that meant there were others. There had to be others, hidden, scared, but human and alive and real. The resistance would begin with her. As the fake Mr. Henderson dragged her toward whatever nightmare awaited, Laney began to plan. She would survive this. She would escape. She would find the others. And then she would make these artificial monsters pay for every human life they had stolen. And so that's the end of our fictional story. Or is it really fictional? Maybe. It's actually predictional. And so, dear listeners, we emerge from another dark corner of Carmen's crypt. But remember, the horrors you've heard tonight are merely echoes of the terrors that await in the shadows of your mind. If you enjoyed your stay in the crypt, why not invite a friend to join us next week? After all, fear is best when shared. Leave a review if you dare, or share your own tales of terror on my social media at Carmen Carrion. You can also find my other podcasts or submit your story at carmen-carrion.com.